The Purple Line is a community podcast, bringing you in-depth conversation with diverse leaders in the public and private sectors. Whether you're a student looking to gather advice or a professional tuning in for valuable resources, our dynamic programming provides tips for all ages and backgrounds. I'm your host, Emily Benevides, and this is The Purple Line. Welcome to CHLI's Purple Line podcast. Today, we have a very special episode featuring our 2024 Fall Global Leader Cohort. I'm Emily Benevides. Thanks for joining us. And we're joined now by Monica. Monica, tell us where you served on Capitol Hill and in the corporate arena.
Yes, I would love to. So for the first half of the program, I had the immense privilege of serving for Representative Jasmine Crockett, who represents Texas's 30th district. And I was really grateful to be a part of that team. They were all so wonderful. And for the second half of the program, I had the immense privilege of serving for the Home Depot Government Relations Office, and also an incredible team, and I was able to learn so much.
Wonderful. What was your big takeaway from your time on Capitol Hill?
Through active listening, I was able to just learn so much. But I think the biggest takeaway was definitely how much I was able to gain confidence in analyzing bills that are actually put on the floor in Congress. Bills can be a lot for anyone. So coming as a business major, I was really able to not only see a bill, but really read through the lines of a bill. And I think I'll definitely be taking that with me in my future.
I'm glad you'll be taking that confidence with you. I love that.
For sure.
Did anything surprise you during your time here in DC?
Before coming to DC, I definitely have developed the mindset of expect the unexpected. So I came in with the mindset to DC of be ready for anything, be ready to adapt, be ready for people from all different perspectives. And so I think that really was able to ground me for success during my time here. So while nothing surprised me per se, I definitely was exposed to so much more knowledge and incredible people, and definitely leaving with more than I came in with it. So I'm really grateful for that.
Wonderful. I'm so glad that you were able to soak it all in.
For sure.
What advice would you give to the next cohort of global leaders?
Going along with my previous answer, expect the unexpected, be open to anything. Open-mindedness is one of the greatest assets you can give yourself, because it truly will allow you to soak in as much as possible. And the people who set themselves up to be open-minded are the people who set themselves up for success, especially in a place like Washington, D.C. So for the next cohort, come in with an open mind and be ready for anything, and you can do amazing things here.
Wise words from Monica Mata. We're joined now by Samantha. Samantha, tell us where you served, both on Capitol Hill and in the corporate arena.
So I worked with Congressman Juan Vargas from California's 52nd District, and now I am working with the Wilson Center.
Samantha, what was the biggest takeaway you had from working on Capitol Hill?
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was how much I'm able to handle and how much I can put on my plate and be able to succeed in that, which really taught me how to grow. So it was really great.
I can see the confidence like coming through your eyes. This is beautiful. Did anything surprise you about your time in DC?
You know, for it being such a big city, I thought I was going to struggle more trying to find a sense of community, but everything kind of fell into place, and I was able to really find spaces where it felt like home for me here. So that was a really, really nice surprise.
That's wonderful. Finally, what advice would you give to the next cohort of global leaders?
I would say to the next cohort of global leaders, take every opportunity you can, but also don't forget to take care of yourself. Absolutely. Like mental health and your physical health come first. And if you're not healthy inside and out, you can't do everything that you want to do. So I feel like everything here takes kind of a big toll on your body with everything that we're doing. So taking care of yourself is a very, very important thing to do.
I agree. And I'm glad that you took care of yourself while you were here. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
And we're joined by Bianca. Bianca, can you tell us where you served on Capitol Hill and in the corporate arena?
Yeah, I was a congressional intern for Congressman Eric Sorensen from Illinois District 17, and currently I'm an intern with Tyson's Foods.
So can you tell us one of the biggest takeaways from your time on Capitol Hill?
So my biggest takeaways from Capitol Hill is definitely to advocate for yourself, to speak up about if you want a certain task done, if you want more experience in something. Like, I was in a district that is not really international relations focused, but I spoke to, the staff assistant and the overall internship coordinator and talked about a little bit of my career goals. So by advocating for myself, I was able to write a lot of legislative correspondence on the wars and like different international topics. So I felt like really happy that I did that because I got a lot of, exposure to those new topics as well as more like writing based tasks. So it was really just an awesome experience to just advocate for myself and, talk about the needs that I wanted or what I wanted to gain from that internship experience for sure.
Love that. Did anything surprise you during your time here in DC?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that surprised me was kind of the culture, because I always envisioned in my head, and a lot of people back at home thought like Capitol Hill is so cutthroat, like everybody's out to get one another. But when I got on Capitol Hill and I was in my placement and also with my corporate placement as well, everyone was so willing to help. They're willing to give, their advice, share their experience and how any way they can help me. And I was just really taken aback by that. And I was just kind of a little overwhelmed by their just generosity, because that was something that I wasn't prepared for. But I'm so happy that that happened. And, just being part of CHLI, that's also representative of that as well. Like just reaching out to alumni who are also willing to share their CHLI experience and what they are doing currently after CHLI, like either working on the Hill or working in like a nonprofit corporate setting. I guess just everybody is willing to help in whatever way they can.
I'm so glad you had a positive experience, especially within the CHLI network. What advice would you give to the next cohort of global leaders?
I would say I have a couple. So I would say don't fall into like self-comparison. Everybody's on their own journey and on their own path, and every journey is going to look very differently. So don't feel like, oh my God, I didn't do 50 coffee chats this week, or I didn't get to that goal. Like, that's fine. Like, do not fall into that trap. And I would also say something that I really took from my Capitol Hill experience that I think it would be really great advice for the next cohort is don't tell yourself no, let other people tell you no. And that just means like if you want to be on that briefing, if you want to do that task, if you want to do something, just ask. Like that's all you can do. And the answer may be no, or not right now, or whatever that may be, but at least you ask, and that shows interest, that shows, drive, and that really, unless you're asking constantly, but like don't do that. But you know what I mean? Like just always make sure to advocate for yourself, make sure to do all those things. So yeah.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Bianca.
Thank you.
We're joined now by Chris. Chris, tell us where you served on Capitol Hill and the corporate arena.
All right, so this semester I had the pleasure of serving for Senator Cortez Masto and Cassidy and Associates.
Wonderful. What was your biggest takeaway from your time on Capitol Hill?
I think my biggest takeaway was teamwork, how such large teams come together to really passionately advocate for the things that they're working towards.
Wonderful. Did anything surprise you about your time in DC?
Yeah, so I took this class in college about parties and polarizations, and a lot of that talked about how polarized we're supposed to be right now. But being on Capitol Hill, it was amazing seeing how untrue that is, how maybe in the public eye it appears that way, but people really tend to work together.
The spirit of bipartisanship is still alive. I love that. What advice would you give the next cohort of global leaders?
Yeah, I would tell them to just focus on themselves, prioritize their physical health because it'll translate over to their mental. You don't have to go to every networking event or every outing. And just prioritize being the best you.
Wonderful. I agree. Thanks so much for your time, Chris. We're joined by Fabiana. Fabiana, tell us where you served on Capitol Hill and in the corporate arena.
Of course, yeah. On Capitol Hill, I worked with Congressman David Valadeo. He's from California, and currently my corporate placement is Philip Morris International.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What was your biggest takeaway from your time on Capitol Hill?
I think it will be paying attention to the small details and also learning how to write memos on the correct way. Because last year I worked here on the Hill and I worked a lot of memos, but this semester I worked with different kind of memos, and being able like how to write memos on the correct way, it was so important because on the Hill you're always working on memos. So that's something that I learned and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and every office has their own format.
Exactly.
Did anything surprise you about your time in DC?
Yeah, this semester we were on election year, so being able to meet a lot of congressmen and congresswomen, it was so impressive. Like, I've been admired so many congressmen that I met this semester, so being able to just talk to them and network with them was really impressive.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you had that opportunity. What advice would you give to the next cohort of global leaders?
I think the advice that I would give them is pay attention to the small details. Network. Every day, literally every day, there will be networking events here. So go to all the networking events you can go. And just don't be afraid like to ask questions. It's okay not to know everything. So just enjoy your time here, network, and don't be afraid to do anything. So
It's great advice. Thank you so much, Fabiana.
thank you.
And we're joined now by Carly. Carly, tell us where you served on Capitol Hill and in the corporate arena.
So I served in the office of Congresswoman Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, the Congresswoman representing Puerto Rico. And my corporate placement is with Baroque Strategies, the lobbying firm.
Wonderful. What was your biggest takeaway from your time on Capitol Hill?
So being in the office of the Congresswoman from Puerto Rico, it was incredible to see an entire office conducted in Spanish. For the first time ever, I entered a professional space and my Spanish was the worst in the office. And also, Puerto Rican Spanish is so different than Chicano Mexican Spanish from LA. And so I had so much to learn, the accent, the slang, but it was incredible. And my Spanish vastly improved. And it was just, like I said, so awesome to see an entire professional space conducted in Spanish.
I love that. Did anything surprise you about your time in DC?
How easy it is to develop a caffeine addiction. So DC runs on coffee chats, and every single office will always have a pot of coffee brewing. I literally carry instant coffee and coffee bars in my work bag now. But, the coffee chats also were just a beautiful way to blossom a relationship with, mentors, friends, and to just really get to know a person and who they are inside. And so coffee and connections.
It's wonderful. On that topic, what advice would you give to the next cohort of global leaders?
Network. And, to also take that a step further, to really, when you network, see the core of who somebody is and invest in somebody the way that you want them to invest in you. Because at the end of the day, we're all just people and we're all here to work and pretty much do good for our country, do good for this small town. And so going on those coffee chats, taking those meetings, just talking to a person and seeing who they are on the inside is really what helped me create Mi Comunidad here. And so I'm really grateful for all the people that I got to meet.
I'm so glad that you had that experience. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're joined now by David. David, tell us where you served on Capitol Hill and in the corporate arena.
Sure. So I was a legislative intern in the office of Congressman August Pfluger for the 11th District of Texas, and I'm currently now a government affairs intern with Baroque Strategies.
Wonderful. What was your biggest takeaway from your time on Capitol Hill?
So I learned how much I liked Washington, D.C. as a whole. I was a little concerned of how much I would like it, just given the big difference and contrast it is to my hometown. But I love the city, the people, the lifestyle, and I hope to be back soon.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Did anything surprise you during your time here in DC?
I think what really surprised me was how career-oriented everyone is here. Whenever you go to restaurants, bars, events, networking, etc., was always asking, who do you work for? What do you do? Where are you from? So it's a big contrast to back home, but that's why I love it so much.
And what advice would you give the next cohort of global leaders?
I think the advice I would give for the next cohort of global leaders would be to be open to learn new things. I'm a big fan of foreign policy, immigration, and energy, but in both the public and private sector internships, I was able to learn a lot of healthcare, a lot of tax laws, a lot of financial services. So I had a previous knowledge prior, but being this part of this program has given me a well-rounded knowledge of different policy aspects.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad Chile was able to broaden your horizons. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Purple Line. For the latest updates, follow Chili on social media at THECHLI. And you can follow me at EMBENA. Thank you for joining us on The Purple Line.